In the vast and colorful story of India, small things can often tell the grandest tales. Look closely at the ground, at the dust of forgotten cities, and you might find a small, round piece of metal. It is a copper coin. It may seem simple, humble even. But this little object is a magnificent key. It unlocks the stories of mighty emperors, of bustling ancient markets, and of the everyday lives of people who lived thousands of years ago. The history of India is not just written in stone temples or ancient texts. It is also stamped piece by piece onto these remarkable copper coins, forming a chain that connects the distant past to our world today. Copper has always been a special metal in India. It is not as rare or as splendid as gold or silver. It is the people's metal. Because of this, copper coins were the money of daily life. They were used to buy a handful of grain, a piece of cloth, or a simple meal. While gold coins were locked away in the treasuries of kings, copper coins passed through the hands of millions. They traveled from farmers to merchants, from soldiers to priests. Each coin carries the invisible fingerprints of an entire civilization. Following the journey of the copper coin is like following the very heartbeat of India itself, a rhythm that has pulsed for more than 2 millennia. These small discs of metal are far more than just money. They are miniature canvases, carrying messages from the past. On their surfaces, we see the faces of powerful rulers, the symbols of ancient faiths, and the beautiful art of different ages. A single copper coin can tell us what God's people worshipped, what language they spoke, and what they believed was important. It is a tiny, durable history book, preserved for us to discover. When we hold one, we are holding a direct link to a moment in time, a tangible piece of a world that has long since vanished, but whose echoes remain in the metal. Our journey will take us through the incredible timeline of India's copper coinage. We will begin in the ancient cities where the very first coins were made, rough and full of character. We will travel through the great empires, the Mauryans, the Kushans, the Guptas, and the Mughals, and see how each one left its unique mark on the copper they minted. We will witness the arrival of the British and the birth of a new nation, all told through the changing face of this humble coin. This is not just a story about money. It is the story of India, told through the enduring and honest voice of copper. Long before the first coin was ever struck, the people of ancient India had their own ways of trading. Imagine a bustling village in the Indus Valley, thousands of years ago. There was no money to exchange. Instead, people used a system called barter. A farmer with a surplus of wheat might trade it with a potter for some new clay pots. A weaver could exchange a beautifully crafted cloth for a basket of fresh fish from a fisherman. This system worked well for small communities, where people knew each other and could agree on what things were worth. It was a simple, direct exchange of goods and services, the very first form of commerce. However, as societies grew larger and trade routes expanded, the barter system began to show its limitations. What if the potter did not need any more wheat? How could the farmer get his pots? A new solution was needed, something that everyone would accept as having value. This led to the use of commodity money. Certain items, like cows or specific quantities of grain, became a standard measure of value. These were more convenient than bartering for everything, but they were still difficult to carry, divide, and store. You could not easily carry a cow in your pocket to the market, nor could you easily make change for one. The next great leap forward was the use of metal. People discovered that metals, especially copper, were durable, easy to divide, and relatively scarce, which gave them value. In the beginning, they used simple unmarked pieces of metal. These were often just lumps or bent bars of copper. Their value was based purely on their weight. To make a purchase, a person would have to bring their bits of metal and a set of scales to the marketplace. The metal would be weighed carefully to determine its worth. This was a significant improvement, but it was still a slow and cumbersome process for daily transactions. This use of weighed metal set the stage for one of the most important inventions in human history, the coin. The idea was brilliant in its simplicity. What if the metal pieces could be marked beforehand? A trusted authority, like a king or a merchant guild, could weigh the metal and then stamp it with a special mark. This mark would be a guarantee of the metal's weight and purity. People would no longer need to carry scales to the market. They could trust the stamp on the metal. This revolutionary idea gave birth to the first coins, and in India, it was humble copper that often led the way. Around the 6th century BCE, a remarkable innovation appeared in the northern plains of India. This was the birth of the subcontinent's first true coinage. These were not the perfectly round, machine-made coins we know today. They were wonderfully irregular pieces of metal, mostly silver, but also vast quantities of copper. They are known as punch-marked coins, and their creation was a marvel of simple technology. Craftsmen would first create a flat sheet of copper. They would then cut the sheet into many small, uneven pieces. Each piece was then stamped with several different symbols, using individual punches and a hammer. The symbols found on these early copper coins are a fascinating window into the world of ancient India. They were not portraits of kings or written words. Instead, they were a rich vocabulary of images. You might see the sun, a bull, an elephant, or a tree within a railing. Sometimes, complex geometric patterns were used. It is believed that these symbols represented different things. Some might have been the emblems of the local kingdoms, known as Mahajanapadas, that issued them. Others could have been the marks of the moneyers or guilds who guaranteed the coin's value, acting as a sign of authenticity. Unlike later coins, which had all their designs on a single die, these punch-marked coins were stamped one symbol at a time. This means that no two punch-marked coins are ever exactly alike. The placement and combination of symbols are always slightly different. This gives them a unique, handmade character that is truly captivating. Finding one of these coins is like discovering a small piece of abstract art from 2,500 years ago. The copper varieties were the small change of their day, used for minor purchases in the noisy, vibrant markets of ancient cities like Taxila and Kashi. The use of copper for these coins was incredibly important for the economy. While silver punch-marked coins were used for large transactions, the copper ones made everyday commerce possible for ordinary people. They allowed for a level of economic flexibility that was previously unimaginable. A laborer could be paid a few copper coins for a day's work and then use them to buy food for his family. This system was so successful that punch-marked copper coins continued to be used for many centuries, spreading across the length and breadth of the Indian subcontinent and laying the foundation for all the coinage that would follow. When the Great Mauryan Empire rose to power in the 4th century BCE, it unified much of India under a single rule. This powerful administration brought about significant changes in coinage. The Mauryans continued the tradition of punch-marked coins, but they did so on a massive scale, creating a more standardized currency that could be used across their vast empire. Their copper coins, like their silver counterparts, typically featured 5 distinct punch marks. Among the most common symbols were the sun and a 6-armed symbol, which are thought to represent the emperor and the empire itself. The sheer quantity of Mauryan copper coins found by archaeologists shows just how vital they were to the imperial economy. These coins were the lifeblood of the empire's administration. They were used to pay the salaries of countless soldiers, officials, and spies that the Mauryan state employed. The famous text, the Arthashastra, believed to be written by the advisor Chanakya, even describes the role of a superintendent of the mint. This official was responsible for ensuring the quality and purity of the metals used, including copper. The Mauryan copper coins, known as mashakas, were part of a complex and well-defined monetary system. They demonstrate a level of state control over the economy that was unprecedented in Indian history, making trade smoother and tax collection more efficient. A few centuries later, a new power emerged in the northwest, the Kushan Empire. The Kushans, who had connections to Central Asia, brought with them a completely new style of coinage. They abandoned the abstract punch-marked system and introduced die-struck coins with realistic portraits and figures, a tradition they inherited from the Indo-Greeks. The great Kushan emperor Kanishka I, for example, is often shown on his copper coins as a standing figure, dressed in a heavy coat and boots, sacrificing at a fire altar. This was a powerful form of propaganda, displaying the image of the king to all his subjects. The reverse side of Kushan copper coins is equally remarkable. It features a stunning variety of deities drawn from Greek, Iranian, and Indian traditions. You can find coins with images of the Buddha, Shiva, and various Zoroastrian gods. This shows the incredible cultural melting pot that the Kushan Empire was. A single Kushan copper coin could tell a story of religious tolerance and cultural fusion. These heavy, well-made copper coins, often called tetradrachms, were produced in enormous numbers and circulated widely, influencing coin design in India for centuries to come. They transformed the coin from a simple token of value into a powerful statement of identity and belief. The Gupta Empire, which flourished from the 4th to the 6th century CE, is often called India's Golden Age. This was a time of extraordinary achievements in science, mathematics, and most visibly, in art. Interestingly, this artistic excellence was not confined to magnificent sculptures and temples. It was also beautifully captured on the empire's coins. While the Guptas are most famous for their stunning gold coins, their copper coinage also tells a fascinating story of this vibrant period. The artistry seen on gold was often mirrored, in a simpler form, on the humble copper coins meant for the common people. Gupta copper coins moved away from the realistic portraits of the Kushans and embraced a more idealized and graceful Indian artistic style. A very common type of Gupta copper coin features the portrait of the king on one side. However, instead of a detailed, realistic face, it is often a stylized profile. The reverse side is where we often see wonderful creativity. One of the most famous designs is the type, which shows the king standing beneath a royal parasol or umbrella. Other coins feature the goddess Lakshmi, or the mythical bird Garuda, which was the emblem of the Gupta dynasty. These coins were not just beautiful, they were also informative. Many Gupta copper coins included the name of the king written in the Brahmi script, often in a circular inscription around the portrait. This was a clear message of sovereignty, announcing the ruler's authority to everyone who used the coin. The quality of these copper coins could vary. Some were carefully struck and showed great detail, while others were cruder, likely produced in provincial mints to meet local demand. This variation itself tells a story about the structure of the Gupta administration and its vast network of territories. The most common copper coins of the Gupta era were those of King Chandragupta II and his successor, Kumaragupta I. Their coins are found across northern India, a testament to the stability and economic prosperity of the time. These small copper pieces facilitated a bustling market economy where goods from all over the empire were traded. Even in their simplicity, Gupta copper coins reflect the confidence and cultural sophistication of the age. They are tiny masterpieces of Gupta art, carrying the elegance of the Golden Age in the palm of one's hand, accessible to all levels of society. With the arrival of the Turkic rulers and the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate in the 13th century, Indian coinage entered a new and dramatic phase. The new rulers brought with them the traditions of Islamic coinage. This meant a complete departure from the figurative art of the past. In accordance with Islamic principles, the images of rulers, gods, and animals disappeared from the coins. They were replaced by elegant calligraphic inscriptions in Arabic or Persian. The coins now carried the name of the Sultan, his titles, and often the date and the name of the mint city, providing a wealth of information for historians. The sultans of Delhi maintained a three-tiered metal currency system, with gold mohurs for large transactions, silver tankers for intermediate trade, and copper coins for everyday use. The copper coins were essential for the functioning of the urban and rural economies. The most common copper coin was known as the jital. Dozens of these small copper coins were needed to equal the value of a single silver tanker. They were used to buy food, pay wages, and give alms. The sheer volume of copper coins minted by the sultans shows a deep understanding of the need for a fractional currency to keep the economy moving smoothly. One of the most famous and controversial experiments in the history of Indian coinage occurred during this period. In the 14th century, Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq faced a global shortage of silver. To solve this, he introduced a token currency. He decreed that coins made of copper and brass would have the same value as the much more precious silver and gold coins. In theory, this was a brilliant idea, similar to the paper money we use today. The value was guaranteed by the state, not by the metal content. It was a bold and forward-thinking monetary policy. Unfortunately, the experiment was a disastrous failure. The design of the new copper token coins was too simple, and the state failed to maintain control over their production. Soon, counterfeiters all across the empire began making their own copper tokens in backyard forges. The market was flooded with fake money, and the entire economy collapsed as people refused to accept the worthless coins. The Sultan was eventually forced to withdraw the entire token currency, exchanging every coin, both real and fake, for genuine silver at a tremendous cost to the royal treasury. This famous episode highlights the critical importance of public trust in the value of currency. The Mughal Empire, founded by Babur in the 16th century, ushered in an era of unprecedented political unity and economic prosperity in India. The Mughal emperors were masters of administration, and this was clearly reflected in their magnificent and highly organized currency system. They understood that a uniform and reliable coinage was essential for controlling their vast and diverse empire. The Emperor Akbar the Great undertook a major reform of the currency, establishing imperial mints in key cities across the subcontinent to produce coins of a standard weight and purity. Under the Mughals, the primary copper coin was called the dam. It was a large, heavy coin that became the workhorse of the Mughal economy. Akbar's reforms fixed its weight at around 20 grams. The value of the dam was tied to the silver rupee, with a ratio of approximately 40 copper dams to 1 silver rupee. This ratio could fluctuate based on the market price of copper, but the dam itself provided a stable unit for all small-scale transactions. It was used to pay land revenue, wages for laborers and soldiers, and for all purchases in the bustling bazaars of cities like Agra, Delhi, and Lahore. Mughal copper coins were objects of simple but elegant beauty. Following the Islamic tradition, they did not feature portraits. Instead, they were covered in beautiful Persian calligraphy. On one side, you would often find the name of the ruling emperor, along with his grand titles. The other side typically contained the name of the mint and the year the coin was made, recorded in the Hijri calendar. Some coins also bore pious inscriptions or poetic verses praising the ruler. The precision of the lettering and the quality of the strike on many of these coins are a testament to the skill of the Mughal mint masters. The copper dam and its fractions, such as the half dam, called the adala, and the quarter dam, known as the paisa, played a crucial role in the daily lives of millions of people. The prices of everyday goods, from a measure of wheat to a pair of shoes, were all quoted in dams. The imperial revenue records, which were meticulously maintained, listed tax assessments down to the last dam. The widespread circulation of these standardized copper coins helped to knit the empire together, creating a unified economic zone that fostered trade and prosperity. A copper dam from a mint in Gujarat would be readily accepted in a market in Bengal, a powerful symbol of Mughal authority. As the power of the Mughal Empire declined in the 18th century, the British East India Company rose to become the dominant force in India. In the beginning, the company issued coins that imitated the local styles, including the Mughal dam, to ensure they would be accepted by the population. However, as their political control grew, they began to introduce their own distinct coinage. This marked a major shift in the history of Indian currency. The traditional Persian inscriptions began to be replaced with English, and the coins started to carry the symbols of the company, like its coat of arms. The true transformation came after 1858, when the British Crown took direct control of India. A new imperial coinage was introduced, which was uniform across all of British India. The copper coins of this era are iconic. They featured a beautiful, dignified portrait of the reigning British monarch on one side, starting with Queen Victoria. The portrait was a powerful symbol of the new imperial authority, replacing the calligraphic names of the Mughal emperors. On the reverse, the coin's value and the word India were inscribed, often surrounded by an elegant floral wreath. The copper coins of the British Raj were part of a new decimalized system that was gradually introduced. The main units were the rupee, anna, and pi. A rupee was made of 16 annas, and an anna was made of 12 pies. The copper coins were the lowest denominations, the quarter anna, the half pice, and the pi. These were the coins of the masses, used for every minor transaction across the vast Indian railway network, in colonial cities, and in remote villages. They were robustly made, struck by modern machinery in mints in Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras, ensuring a level of uniformity never seen before. One of the most famous and sought-after copper coins from this period is the 1862 Queen Victoria quarter anna. These coins were minted in huge numbers and circulated for decades. Over time, the portraits of the monarchs were updated, from Queen Victoria to King Edward VII, King George V, and finally King George VI. The design of the George VI coins was altered during the Second World War due to a shortage of metal. A hole was introduced in the center of the copper pice coin to save material. These coins, with their changing faces and forms, are a tangible record of India's journey through the colonial era, leading right up to the doorstep of independence. On August 15, 1947, India gained its independence. This historic moment was quickly marked by the creation of a new national coinage. The portrait of the British monarch was immediately replaced with a proud and powerful new national symbol, the Ashoka lion capital. This emblem, taken from an ancient pillar erected by the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka, represents India's sovereign republic. The first coins of independent India, including the copper 1 pice, half anna, and quarter anna, carried this symbol, proudly announcing the birth of a new nation to the world. A major change occurred in 1957, when India shifted from the old rupee anna pi system to a decimal currency. The rupee was now divided into 100 equal parts. The new unit was called the Naya Paisa, which means new paisa. For a few years, coins were marked this way to help people get used to the new system. The first decimal coins included a copper 1 Naya Paisa. These small copper coins were essential for the transition, allowing for precise pricing and change-making in the new decimal framework. By 1964, the word Naya was dropped and the coin simply became the Paisa. Over the following decades, the role of copper in Indian coinage began to change. As the economy grew, inflation made the value of the lower denomination coins very small. The cost of the copper metal itself eventually became worth more than the face value of the coin. This led to the gradual phasing out of pure copper coins. The government began to mint coins from less expensive metals, such as bronze, aluminium, and later, stainless steel. The 1, 2, and 3 paise coins were discontinued first, followed by the 5 and 10 paise coins, as they became impractical for daily use. Today, pure copper coins are no longer in general circulation in India. The smallest denomination coin currently minted is the 1 rupee coin, made of stainless steel. However, the spirit of the copper coin lives on. The word paisa itself, which once referred to a specific copper coin, is now used in everyday language to simply mean money. The long and incredible history of India's copper coins has come to a close, but their legacy is everywhere. They were witnesses to the rise and fall of empires, the daily struggles and joys of ordinary people, and the birth of a modern nation. These humble pieces of metal are a powerful reminder that even the smallest objects can tell the greatest stories.